I just got done watching Barron's podcast, and he's doing super chats and stuff right now, but it made me think because there was some stuff that I'd already been looking into, and it kind of connected with a few things tonight. And I want to go over something very important. Some people have suspected that allegedly Lance Twiggs was involved. Some say that he was just the boyfriend, the furry boyfriend who's doing a transition from male to female. Some have suspected that maybe he was, in fact, the shooter. And then tonight, with some things that connected and some other research that I've done, there's some interesting questions. Let's get into it. We're going to go over some of Lance's background first, and then we're going to jump into what Barron said tonight and how it might connect some things. And remember, this is alleged. This is just information. Do with it what you will. But there's some very interesting things that kind of align. Lance Twiggs is a 22-year-old individual from St. George, Utah. He's been publicly identified as the romantic partner and roommate of Tyler Robinson. Now, based on that, there have also been some neighbors who corroborate that they've seen them holding hands and things like that outside the home. The suspect charged with the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk on September 10th at UVU. Authorities and media report referred to Twiggs using male pronouns, though some sources describe him as transgender in the process of transitioning from male to female. Twiggs has been described as shy, intelligent, straight-A student in school, and musically talented during his teenage years, but later become reclusive, focusing on video games and online communities. Friends have defended him as a good kid with strong academic performance. Now, remember, initially when all this stuff started, I had heard the same things about Tyler, that he was a straight-A student, that he was shy and intelligent, and he was a gamer and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting that it's kind of like, very close parallels there. And on the left here, you have the original image that they showed. And this is supposed to be Lance Twiggs. He's in a, this is a furry. This is not a furry costume. I'm not an expert on it, but obviously this looks like some kind of pajamas or something. And then you have him out here skiing. And then this is Tyler. And some people say they look kind of similar, maybe similar nose. To me, the chin and the jaw are not the same, but yeah, so we'll move on from that. Relationship with Tyler. Twiggs and Robinson, both 22 at the time of the incident, shared a 3-bedroom townhouse, $1,800 a month. They say that people had seen them holding hands and kissing. And based on some of the Discord chats and things that had happened back in the past, some people suspect that maybe Lance Twiggs was taking advantage of and manipulating and molding Tyler Robinson. Robinson allegedly confessed to the shooting via a text from Twiggs, including details about holding the rifle and planning the act. One message read, "Look under my keyboard," where Twiggs found a note stating, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." Twiggs cooperated with authorities by sharing these messages, getting Robinson's arrest after a 33-hour manhunt. Twiggs has not been charged with any crime related to the incident. And if you remember, he also had FBI protection. So not only did he have his hands wiped clean of anything, any wrongdoing, any investigation, now they did supposedly bring him out at gunpoint from the original home and then questioned him. And then shortly after that, due to his closeness of the case, they gave him FBI protection until recently. And we'll see some images and things, but he's not looking so good. And as you can understand, Twiggs grew up in a strict Mormon family in St. George, Utah. He was kicked out of his parents' home at 18 due to problematic behavior, including substance abuse, drugs like marijuana and mushrooms and alcohol, video game addiction, and conflicts over his gender identity and breaches of family rules. Now, to me, if you were to compare Tyler Robinson, and even in court, they did this score, and the score put him in green, meaning he's not a threat. He's not dangerous. He's not the type of person that would do this kind of crime. But now you start reading the stuff about Twiggs. You have this problematic behavior, substance abuse, multiple drugs, addiction, conflicts over gender identity, possibly transitioning, possibly on hormones, breaches of family rules. That sounds a lot more like the person who would possibly commit a crime. Now, this is just opinions. These are just allegations, but it seems to be much more in line. He then moved in with his grandparents before moving to share a townhouse with college roommates, eventually just Robinson. A relative described him as antisocial, but super smart, noting he maintained jobs, including part-time plumbing, and paid rent independently. Twiggs dropped out of college and became heavily involved in gaming and Discord groups. Now, these Discord groups is where a lot of people say he was getting radicalized, and we've seen that in multiple different cases with different people. Some reports highlight his experimentation with substances while underage and ongoing mental health struggles related to his transition. His parents, Tyler, an insurance broker, and Amy Twiggs, reconciled with him post-incident, and the family relocated together. Regarding the user's claim about his parents' house being recently paid off. Now, remember that a lot of people said that for some reason the house was paid off and they thought this was some kind of, payment from the government or whoever organized all this stuff. They're saying there's no confirmed reports. The family purchased a new 4-bedroom home in southern Texas in January of 2026 for a fresh start. And Texas is where these new pictures came from as well. With plans for the father to start a property business, but details on financing and payoffs are not mentioned in available sources. And really quick, if you can just take a second, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are quickly approaching or may actually be hitting 100,000 subscribers as we speak. Thanks to all of you. It's become possible. And I especially want to thank the channel members and the moderators, as well as those of you who are donating and doing super chats and being supportive during live streams. It means the world to us. Let's get back to it. Now, officially, they're saying that Twiggs had no prior knowledge of the shooting and fully cooperated with the FBI, providing incriminating texts and a handwritten note from Robinson. Now, of course, that's exactly what you would do if you had a part of it, if you were the one who masterminded it, and if you were setting up your lover to take the fall. And if your lover was in love with you enough, they might take the fall. And that's why people are saying, why is Tyler Robinson, if he's innocent, why is he confessing to this? Or why is he allowing himself to be pushed through as though he was guilty? Utah Governor Spencer Cox confirmed Twiggs was unaware and assisted investigators. However, some online discussions and media speculate his role, citing his influence on Robinson through anti-conservative views and Discord chats, framing Kirk as a symbol of oppression. Twiggs was forcibly removed from the apartment at gunpoint by authorities for questioning and later placed under FBI protection due to threats. The protection ended in January of 2026, about the same time he and his parents moved to Texas. The users mentioned the shooter description matching Twiggs, not Robinson, per police scanner audio aligns with circulating conspiracy claims. And we're actually going to listen to that here in a moment. Leaked 911 calls and scanner audio reportedly contain strange elements, including whispers and details contradicting the official narrative. And we know we don't want to go against the official narrative. Some sources describe audio from public scanner apps revealing inconsistencies in suspect descriptions. Now remember, there were 3 or 4 different suspects. Initially, there was the old man, and then there was another guy, Zachariah, and then possibly another one, and then obviously they ended up on Tyler Robinson. Now, this is the part I really want to drive home. Allegations and conspiracy theories. Most conspiracy theories have some form of truth, and many end up being proved correct later on. But let's look into this. Numerous online theories, particularly on X, that's where all the magic happens. So we have AI facial recognition matches Twiggs. 6 out of 6 for features. Not Robinson. 0 out of 6, based on earlobes, jawline, and proportions. Twiggs' shoes matching the suspects. Now, Twiggs' shoes were gray, and Robinson's were black. That's one thing that really stood out to people. If you look at these images we're going to see here in a moment, you're going to see that the shoes on Twiggs actually match the description of the shooter, supposedly. A history of violence. Twiggs allegedly attacked his grandmother with a knife after his grandfather denied him transition hormones. Okay, so he's going through a lot of physical changes, a lot of mental changes. Hunting experience with his grandfather, making a 300-yard shot feasible. Creepy notebooks, matching bullet etchings, and a gaming handle changed to Homicidal Maniac 962025 days before the shooting. Ties to radical trans groups, including a friend, Sky Valdez, releasing a track, Charlie Kirk Dead at 31, with sniper imagery. Faked texts to exonerate himself, with Robinson as a patsy. And online records vanished by feds, suggesting a cover-up. Other posts suggest a broader trans-Tifa conspiracy with up to 9 people aware in advance. And we've seen those messages where there were other people who were talking about this assassination before it even happened. And even mentioned the date and possibly that he would be shot. He is reclusive, spending days gaming and reading fantasy novels. He briefly worked as a part-time plumber. And he has unkept hair, casual clothes, and all that kind of stuff, which we're going to see. He's avoided media, scowling and driving away when approached. As far as social media, Twiggs had accounts on TikTok and Instagram, but many records appear scrubbed post-incident, very similar to the TPUSA folks like Andrew Colvett and Erica Kirk. An X account potentially linked him. It's SKCIDTAE, which I've looked at before, shows recent activity, including replies defending against accusations and ending debates. He also responded to a comment by the Charlie Kirk channel on X. Gaming profiles on Steam and Discord reportedly included ominous changes pre-shooting, but these are unverified. Online discussions often portray him as part of a radical community, though official reports do not confirm this. So based on all of that, based on all of this information that's out there about Lance Twiggs, if you were to compare the two and the information that's out there on Tyler Robinson and the fact that he's been profiled already in court as being a very low risk or possibly not someone who would even do this kind of thing, but you look at Lance Twiggs' profile here and all the information that we've seen there and the fact that he has shot with his grandfather and that kind of stuff, it seems to me as though the earlier reports mixed all this stuff together. Because when I heard this stuff, I thought this was all Tyler Robinson. But it seems like most of the information I'd heard and attributed to Tyler Robinson was actually Lance Twiggs. So that's why people are saying, if you look at these two people and you weigh them against each other, it's like 95% Lance Twiggs, right? So that is why this is being brought up, in addition to what Barron brought up tonight. Let's look at that. Now, I want to preface this by saying that Barron covered a ton of information in this episode, and this is probably, I'd say, top 3 of all the episodes that he's done. And he talks about several different things and several different layers that go along with this. I'm just going to show one small piece. But of course, if you're not already subscribed to Barron, go over there, check him out, and make sure you follow and watch this entire video.
So the first broadcast was, we have somebody with a picture, we have somebody with a full video. In response to that, somebody says, well, can you send me a picture of the individual we're looking for? So at least he interpreted it that way as well, that somebody had an image of the person they're looking for. I would like to see that. Who were they looking for?
Now, I just want to point out here, there is one very key detail that's going to be coming up. And I think it's probably the most important detail that made all this click for me after I watched this episode.
This is, again, back to the Utah police scanner. We're switching feeds here, so it's going to look a little different on your end, but it's a scanner. So here we go. This was at 1:33 p.m. and 29 seconds, about an hour and 10 minutes after the Big Bang. Who is it you're looking for? The dispatcher, please, by all means, you have the floor.
Copy male, dressed in all black, shoulder-length hair, aviator glasses, black bag, and a long gun.
Now, did you catch that part? Shoulder-length hair. That's when it all clicked for me, and I think that's also what clicked for Barron when he was doing all this research. Because obviously Tyler Robinson doesn't have shoulder-length hair, and a lot of men don't have shoulder-length hair. But you know who does? Not this guy, not Tyler Robinson. And you'll see here that discrepancy. Tyler Robinson is wearing black, and this person is wearing gray. But also, the more I was looking at this, look at this hair right here. Now, in the bulges and stuff in the hat. Now, I was thinking about this. I can't really tell from this image if the hair is going up or not. But I was thinking, with the long hair or longer hair, shoulder length, could that hair be tucked up into the hat? That's something I was thinking about, like this bulge of hair here. I know that hair can do this if it's just longer on top. But I was really curious if this is like pulled up into the hat and well kept in there. But then we move on to this. This was the original image. We can see there's some a little bit longer hair here in the front. But if we go and we look back at the other images, look at this. His hair is definitely to his shoulders, maybe even a little bit longer now. It's been growing out for a little bit, right? A couple months out. This is him in Texas, recent sighting. He's wearing jeans. He has the jacket. He has the black hat, the black backpack. He doesn't look very happy. Obviously, he sees the paparazzi, but this does not look like the same person, or at least not the same mentality. This does not look like the same person or the same mentality as this person, okay? Now, we know he was on medications. He was trying to transition, mental health issues, had attacked people. So we have all that stuff going on. So this could be maybe like one of his personalities, we'll say. And then this other one over here could be a different personality. He's been through a lot more stress. He moved to Texas from Utah. A lot of big changes in life, right? But when you see him here, look at this image. And let me get a closer version of this image for you. I really want to pull this in. Now look at this image. So we have this guy here, to me, does not look like the same person. This person here, now granted, you can take anybody and get a snapshot and catch them in a crazy look with a crazy face and, looking insane with one eye, kind of torco and stuff, kind of jacked up or whatever. But this looks like an evil person. Okay? Now, that's just my opinion, right? I don't know if he's an evil person. But look at the hair, right? So you have this person who's dressed in military type stuff, all black vest. I think they said they had a mask, a long gun, all these different things with shoulder-length hair. And as we know, a lot of people say that Lance was manipulating Tyler. And we know that Lance has this past of violence, mental illness, shooting guns, transitioning, radicalization online, being in Discord groups like Transtifa, having sketches and drawings of these different type of items that were seen on the bullets, for example. A lot of people originally wrote that off as propaganda. But the more we start digging into this, and with this newly released audio talking about this hair length and some of the other revelations that Barron saw, it would seem that Lance might be back on the menu. Now, again, innocent until proven guilty. These are just allegations and opinions. But to me, this looks like the face of someone who could do something like that. That does not look like a stable person mentally. And I want to contrast that with this. Now, granted, one picture, one person's not smiling and the other one person is smiling. But when you look at this, I don't see psycho in his eyes. Now, I could be wrong. You never know. People can shift and change and be manipulated. But based on what I've seen, it seems much more likely that between those two, I know who I would pick. And now remember, this is a thought experiment. This is all just allegedly. Make sure you go pick up the shirt down on the merch. Links down in the description. But this thought experiment would require a few different things. It would require that Lance set all this up, including setting up Tyler to take the fall, making up these texts, or possibly sending the text himself. I would be very interested to know if Lance had access to something of Tyler's that would allow him to send those texts, like an iPad with iMessage or something similar, or did he actually have Tyler's phone? I don't think he did, because I believe Tyler was communicating with people when he went to this steakhouse that Candace was talking about. But that doesn't mean there wasn't something else, some other device that he could send a text from. Now, obviously, if the FBI and people dug deep enough, they'd be able to know what device it came from. But that's just something I'm thinking of. So what if he sent the text himself? What if he wrote the letter himself? Have they done forensic handwriting testing on this stuff? And all the strange anomalies, like Barron brought up, the FBI and when they arrived and how the gun just appeared out of nowhere and how the dogs missed it. Other reports of people on the roof in black gear, but then Tyler wasn't wearing black gear, but he's the Apache that fell. And this other guy who was going from hospital to hospital to hospital trying to find the victim, Charlie, for some reason, and that's why they arrested him. And then you have George Zen, who was telling hospital staff that he's supposed to get paid for his part in this. You have all the strangeness around the flights and the car rentals. There are just so many layers of things that are wrong with all of this. And now in light of this, police scanners, which granted, playing devil's advocate, they're not always right. It could have been their initial thoughts or initial reports, and playing devil's advocate again, these could have been fake reports. This could have been people who purposefully called in for the purpose of misleading the police and sending them on a wild goose chase. With everything we've seen and going over the police scanner audio that Barron brought up, it would seem that Lance Twiggs is starting to look like a very good suspect again. And again, these are just opinions and allegations, but he seems much more likely to be the one that would do it than Tyler. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think that Lance Twiggs or Tyler Robinson is more likely to be the assassin? And do you think that Lance Twiggs, based on everything we've seen, the new images, the descriptions from the police scanner, what we know about his past, do you think that he could be the killer, allegedly? And should he be the one also being looked into? Because they've already cleared him by this point. So let me know your thoughts down there. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I am very close, or possibly even during the recording of this video, I might hit 100,000 subscribers. And again, I just want to thank all you guys for all your support. And obviously, once I get that plaque, maybe I'll put it like somewhere up here, or maybe somewhere on the, I'm not good with the directions on the opposite camera thing over here, but you get the idea. So let's keep digging, seeking truth. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.